Boy, oh boy, do I have a tale for you today. Who am I speaking about? Matt Gaetz, Florida congressman or former Florida congressman that Trump nominated to be the AG. He suddenly withdrew his nomination. We were all speaking about that. We weren't quite sure what was going on. Well, the full story there is incredible, and we have it for you. So first and foremost, full credit to a woman named Mel, who uses the handle @VillageCrazyLady on X. She is the one that did this thread and put it onto my radar. So I'm basically just giving you the audio of what she brought to the forefront, and which we were able to fact check as verifiable. Okay, so this strange story begins with a man named Joel Greenberg. 2019, Joel Greenberg was serving as the tax collector for Seminole County, Florida. And while he is a tax collector, he gets accused of being involved in this crypto scam, okay? In the process of them arresting him, the police also confiscated his phone. Messages between him and a 17-year-old girl discussing their sexcapades all around Florida and beyond Florida. He used the power of his office to make it so that she was of age. What am I talking about? Well, he was making and keeping IDs for himself. So if somebody would come in and be like, "Hi, I'm Candace. I moved to Tennessee. Here's my Connecticut ID. I've moved from Connecticut. You're supposed to shred my old ID." He was keeping IDs, storing them, giving them out, using them, and he was able to secure fake IDs for his lovers. So in August of 2020, the DOJ was able to charge Joel Greenberg with sex trafficking of a minor, identity theft, and the production of false identification documents, among very many other things. And this is where Matt Gaetz comes in. You're probably going, "Okay, Candace, what's that have to do with Matt Gaetz?" It does have something to do with Matt Gaetz. So apparently Greenberg and Matt Gaetz were friends. Nobody really knows how long or how close they were friends, but they were definitely friends. I'd imagine it's not difficult to run in the same circles, given the fact that Matt was also involved in politics, also grew up as a wealthy kid in Florida. It's a small world. Of course, they came across each other. Here's a photo of Matt Gaetz with Joel Greenberg and Roger Stone. Now, realizing how much trouble he was in, Joel Greenberg, he was trying to figure out, how do I get out of trouble? Let me cut a deal. Can I throw somebody else under the bus? I want less time. With friends like these, who needs enemies? So his lawyers contacted Bill Barr's office, then the Attorney General under President Trump, and he says, "Hey, look, homies, I've got dirt on a sitting congressman who also happens to be my friend, Matt Gaetz. I will literally sell this man down a river to save my own skin. What do I have to do?" And then he says, "I have proof that he engaged in sex acts with minors." So the DOJ opens a secret investigation into Matt Gaetz. And by a secret investigation, I mean they leaked it to the New York Times, because that's what our Department of Justice does. He is completely and genuinely shocked by these allegations and makes a wild claim that the Department of Justice is trying to extort him to make these ridiculous claims go away. So let's take a look at what he said and the story that he gave to Tucker once this broke in the news. Take a listen.
On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their direction, which will prove my innocence and that will show that these allegations aren't true. They're merely intended to try to bleed my family out of money.
And shockingly, Matt was indeed telling the truth about that correspondence. So let me tell you this part of the story, because it's wild. So David McGee did indeed used to work at the DOJ about a decade earlier. So now he's working at a law firm, but he used to work for the DOJ, particularly within an organized crime task force. Okay. While he was working there, he worked with a guy named Bob Levinson. This is a very important, crucial character to this story. He is a retired FBI agent who then went off to do some contracted work for the CIA. He was on Kish Island, that's an island off the coast of Iran, when he was kidnapped. Bob Levinson gets kidnapped. It was a very big deal when this happened. To be clear, this was back in 2007. So the FBI gets involved. They're invested. They're like, wait, that's our guy. And we want to get this guy back. We want to get Bob Levinson back. But they have to fund this operation to get him back from Iran. How are they going to do that? With favors. Okay. So they decide, okay, how are we going to raise? We need a lot of money to be able to run this operation. They hatch a plan and they figure out that this plan is going to cost $20 million. And who do we know that's rich enough? Who's got $20 million? We know this Russian billionaire. His name is Oleg Deripaska, who wants some green cards for his family. And we can fast track some green cards for his family if he gives us $20 million. And Deripaska says, yeah, I'm in. $20 million. You give me and my family green cards. Done. Suddenly, it gets shut down. They're like, nothing could go wrong. They also received proof of life, by the way, to make sure he was actually still alive. And he was still alive. He's grown his beard out. He's older now. Everything seems to be good. But then something goes wrong. And something that goes wrong is Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is what goes wrong because Bush is now out. Obama is in. This is now Hillary Clinton's State Department. And she shuts that ish down until the infamous Iranian nuclear deal of 2016. You guys remember that? So basically, Obama was concerned that Iran was enriching uranium. Oh my gosh, they're going to go nuclear. He puts together this deal. We'll give you billions of dollars, literally cash. Like I think we carried $1.6 billion over there if you agree to stop enriching uranium and plutonium. When he negotiated that deal, he also negotiated the release of 5 American hostages. But Bob Levinson was not on that list, and American Jews were furious. They saw it as a betrayal. Okay, they were like, what is going on? This was an actual article that ran at that time, basically asking American Jewry, asking hashtag, what about Bob? This ran in Voice of America. Now it's 2017. Trump gets inaugurated. He cancels the Iran nuclear deal immediately. And Bob's wife, Christine Levinson, sues Iran in the U.S. courts, and she gets awarded $1.2 billion judgment. This is now January of 2020. In March of 2020, the U.S. government officially declares Bob Levinson legally dead. Suddenly, an Air Force intelligence officer named Bob Kent claims that he has received news that, he's heard actually Bob Levinson is alive. He's got a network in Iraq. They say he is still alive, and they've got the pictures to prove it. They send the pictures to Bob Kent, and they're like, look, your guy's still alive. What do you want to do? Do you want to do a deal? And he's like, let me contact someone. And who does he contact? He contacts David McGee. Yes, that David McGee, who eventually calls Matt Gaetz' father. Okay. So what happens next? We already know. Don Gaetz gets contacted, then he contacts the FBI, then he wears a wire, just like Matt Gaetz said, and he catches them offering him money in exchange for immunity. Clearly their plan blows up. Matt Gaetz goes big time, goes on Tucker Carlson, speaks about everything that happens. McKee and Bob Kent deny everything. They said there was no extortion. It was just a simple proposition. A proposition? What? What are you even talking about? You approached him and you asked for $25 million to make something go away. You're calling that a simple proposition? Hey, do you not want to be charged with sex trafficking? Give me $25 million. This is happening from your government. Unbelievable. In the end, a random third guy eventually did get charged with wire fraud in relation to the case, and then the FBI just completely drops everything against Matt Gaetz, pretends like none of it ever happened. But there is no question at all that Matt Gaetz was definitively a target in all of this and was very much the victim. And Matt Gaetz was a rare person who actually fought. And I would have loved to have seen him become the attorney general. And I wish that Trump, if he really wanted to deliver on his promises to drain the swamp, to get rid of the deep state, then he would have put him into that position, fought like hell to keep him there, and allowed him to land some punches on the individuals who schemed against him and his father.
Yeah, this message goes out to everybody on the left. Donald Trump is president now because of you. You're the ones who screamed at us, called us names, put us down. I've gotten legit death threats on this fucking app from people on the left. For 4 years, we've been absolutely shit on. Why is that, you ask? Because we just have different political beliefs. And for some fucking reason, in your heads, you thought, all right, if I call this guy a racist, a bigot, a misogynist, a fascist, they're gonna vote for my candidate. Fucking bananas. The wildest part, though, is you're the ones who say, oh, everybody, you need to be accepting of who I am and you need to be accepting of my beliefs, but you're not accepting of anybody else's. Anytime you hear something that you don't like, you attack, attack, attack. So don't expect any fucking sympathy or pity from the right. We are gonna be petty. Tom fucking Petty. So just
one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other before I finish my song? Now look very carefully, because one of these things just doesn't belong here. Is it the apple?
I had about a minute to come up with what are you going to say to Gavin Newsom? And I just went, why'd you shut the beaches?
Governor, why did you shut the beaches in California during COVID?
That was so funny.
No, you just knew he'd go like, and if you watch that, it's pretty funny. Like at a certain point, I go, why'd you shut the beaches? And then he goes, we didn't have data. We didn't know anything. I go, well, if you didn't know anything, why'd you do it? Which is always my question, because everyone's like, we didn't know anything. I'm like, then shut up. Then don't do anything if you don't know anything, idiots. Your excuse is, I don't know anything. You who govern, you know nothing. But you're going to do stuff based on knowing nothing. So I kept hitting him a little bit. And then I told him, he arrested a paddleboarder. And then I asked him the signs behind closing outdoor dining. And at some point, if you watch that, he goes, okay, Adam. I think the guy's dangerous and irresponsible and a sociopath. And,
It's Donald Trump at the center. It's the former president who is now comfortable with the levers of power. When he was elected to the presidency in 2016, after covering him for so many years, it was one of the only times I've ever seen shock on his face when he won in 2016, standing in that hotel in New York, because he wasn't prepared for the presidency. He now potentially enters the presidency once again fully comfortable, and he has allies around him who are reflecting the total ideological shift, a new paradigm in American politics. It's the nexus not only of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, but Donald Trump Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tucker Carlson. What we're seeing tonight is potentially not just the victory of a political campaign, but the emergence of a new power structure in the United States that does not go on red and blue lines, Republican or Democrat, or even so-called nationalism or populist lines. This is in the image of Trump, with his instincts driving everything. Musk, of course, will want to work closely with the president on defense policy, foreign policy, technology, financial policy. But to be clear, based on our reporting and my conversations with Trump and others, it's him who's driving everything. And those around him, including Musk, I'm told, are highly aware that he comes into this presidency, should he win, as someone who is now seen by the Supreme Court as someone who can operate with total power on many fronts with his official acts, and will want to use that power and likes having that power. It's Donald Trump at the...
How old are your granddaughters?
They are 6 and 8.
Would you support them to get hormone blockers to become the other gender?
I would absolutely support them to get hormone blockers. The idea of one of my granddaughters learning that they're going to start having their period if they don't get their hormones blocked, even though they're identifying and portraying as a male. How horrible that would be. So yes, definitely.
If your granddaughter came to you and wanted to get a tattoo, what would you say?
That would be more difficult. I always told my 3 sons, the one thing I ask is, please don't get tattoos.
Really? Why tattoos?
There's just something so permanent about it.
Permanent?
It's pretty permanent. It's very difficult to get them lasered off or removed.
You don't think it's like permanent to change your gender?
See, you probably look at me and you think all old people are wise, but unfortunately, no.
How old?
Fox News alert. Donald Trump just released a barrage of nominations and appointments. Dr. Sebastian Gorka was appointed Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Director for Counterterrorism. Gorka's been with Trump for a decade. This is a big job for the doctor. Trump also nominated Dr. Dave Weldon to serve as director of the CDC. The president says Weldon will correct past errors of the CDC and focus on the prevention of disease. We also have a new Surgeon General, Dr. Jeanette Neshwat, a double board certified medical doctor who you might have seen right here on Fox News. Trump says Neshwat will play a major role in making America healthy again. Another familiar face, Dr. Marty McCary for FDA commissioner. He'll be working with RFK to evaluate harmful chemicals poisoning our nation's food supply and drugs. NFL veteran Scott Turner nominated to run the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Turner worked with Trump in his first term to transform distressed communities. Turner, in case you're wondering, played quarterback for the Redskins, Chargers, and Broncos. Congresswoman Lori Chavez Derrimer is nominated for Secretary of Labor, and Russell Vought has been nominated as Director of the Office of Management and Budget. That was the guy that Miller was singing his praises. Vought was OMB director in Trump's first term. The president says he's an aggressive cost cutter who knows how to dismantle the deep state. We'll keep you updated as the nominations keep rolling in.
All it took was Donald Trump getting elected for arguably 200 years of a First Amendment principle to be entirely discarded because it was leading to the wrong kinds of people being elected. Free speech on the internet was blamed for the loss of the Philippines election by the State Department in 2016. It was blamed for the events of Brexit. It was blamed for the rise of Trump in 2016. It was blamed for the rise of Bolsonaro. It was blamed for the rise of Modi in India. In country after country, the free and open internet, unfiltered alternative news, the rise of citizen journalists, the rise of citizens in those countries who have larger voices than CIA-backed media has meant that the State Department has lost control of those countries. And what happened was, after 2016, the technology and the networks were established to be able to add a new toolkit to American diplomacy, which is diplomacy by censorship. So you have truckers in America whose income tax is going to pay foreign governments to censor their citizens.
We're becoming the Soviet Union.
All it took was
journalistic outlet. But okay, so here's you, of course, I'm sure paid attention to the kerfuffle over a comedian at the Trump rally at MSG. I think you even know this guy, right?
He's a good friend of mine.
Okay, yeah.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
So he tells a joke about Puerto Rico. The number of mentions on CNN about this joke in the last 48 hours, this was as of last night, 143, on MSNBC 101, on ABC 53, on NBC 32, and on CBS 31. In 2 days, they talked about that joke effectively nonstop. You know what it means to have 31 mentions on NBC News about this particular thing? That is that is saturation. Last night, Joe Biden called the half of America that's going to vote for Donald Trump garbage. Do you think that the word garbage is going to appear on CNN 141 times?
Okay, I know Kamala lost, but all of the stuff that she was promising on the campaign trail, can't she still do it? She's still the vice president of the United States, at least for a couple months. And I would imagine at this point you can kind of convince Joe to do anything. I mean, I know she didn't do all the stuff that she said she was going to do in the time that she could have done it, but that time is still today. She can still do it now, right? You guys don't think she was blowing smoke up our butts the whole time, do you? Okay.
They're referring to Trump. Just listen. Take a look.
The service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my
wow,
moment.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
Locked up and barricaded in their offices, so there's a critical situation and a risk of loss of life.
We have some senators who are still in their hideaways. They need massive personnel now. Can you get the Maryland National Guard to come too?
We can't Mr. Secretary, obviously Prince George's County, I will call Angela Alsobrook, the county executive. I'm sure she'll deploy whatever we need deployed. Montgomery County as well, Fairfax and Arlington all have very significant forces.
Yes, sir. I'm going to call the governor when I get off.
Good.
Everything on my hand, I'm trying to get this in.
Thank you. We won't take any.
I have something to say, Mr. Secretary. I'm going to call the mayor of Washington, D.C. right now and see what other outreach she has to other police departments, as Leader Hoyer has mentioned, and also that we can deliver the good news that you are now going to, instead of blocking the National Guard, that you will.
There's more people in the Senate.
I never said no. I just had to get permission. It's not my personal authority. I told them I had to talk to my boss.
And then did you talk to your boss?
I did. We have the green light.
Okay.
Talk to me. I didn't have the authority. And I don't know how that word got out, but I never said that.
Thank you. Keep working. We need all the personnel we can get.
They're referring to Trump. Just listen. Take a look.
The service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my mom.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
And Donald Trump is always where the cameras are when it involves making money. And today at Lowe's Island in Sterling, Virginia, he opened the Tennis Performance Center. Trump volleyed with Serena Williams, shoes off, coat on. Donald Trump showing he's got some game, some little. It's right there at the Trump National Club. Both are tremendous facilities. It was good to see him out there, and the fans seem to enjoy it. And Donald Trump is always where the cameras are when it involves making money. And today at Lowe's Island in Sterling, Virginia, he opened the Tennis Performance Center. Trump volleyed with Serena Williams, shoes off, coat on. Donald Trump showing he's got some game, some.
The Constitution there is to protect the people from the government. It's to make it hard to change things. Why is freedom of speech the First Amendment? It's because people came from countries where if you spoke freely, you would be imprisoned or killed. That was why they were like, you know what, we should make sure that we got that one. And remember that time when they tried to kill us back in the other country? just for saying we didn't like a political candidate? Well, let's make sure that's okay in America. Most parts of the world, you can't really say what you want to say without some bad consequences. That's why the Constitution exists.
The First Amendment keeps the government in check, ensuring we're not silenced. It's essential for progress.
I take it for granted. The Constitution there is to protect the people from the government. It's to
What can you tell people who don't believe that Trump would be committed to something like that? That once he gets in there, who knows what he's going to do, but he's never been about everybody's health before. Why would he be about it now?
What President Trump did after I made that agreement with him is he's kept his word about everything so far. He did things that I didn't ask him to do. He put me on the transition team. Most transition teams don't start to the day of the election because they're paid for by the GAO. And what President Trump said to me is he said, last time in 2016, I came into office and I had no idea how to govern. And I was immediately surrounded the day after the election with all these big corporate people and corporate lobbyists. And they said, appoint this guy, appoint that guy. And he said, I did it. And they were a bunch of bad people. That was, you know how he says bad people?
Yes.
Well, that's what he said. People like John Bolton and the head of NSA and all of these other people, corporate lobbyists who came in and ran our agencies, which I was a huge critic of. And he said, I'm not doing that this time. I care about my legacy. I want to leave a country that's healthier. This is an existential threat to the American people. And he said, I want to end it, and I want to leave as my legacy to the American people the end of the chronic disease epidemic and make us, again, like when I was a boy, the healthiest nation in the world.
So now, as many on the left fear the future, as they should, many others rue the past.
Joe Biden should have dropped out earlier.
There should have been an open primary. People never got to know Kamala Harris.
They spend too little time talking about the economy.
Wildly overestimated the power of the abortion issue.
Chose the wrong VP.
Managed to alienate historic numbers of Latinos.
Abandoned the working class.
Democrats need a new way to talk about urban America.
Do that Joe Rogan podcast.
Trump spoke to the people.
Now, what are you saying to me?
Why wouldn't you take bear spray if you're going into the mountains where there are bears? It makes no sense.
I don't want to spray a bear with bear spray.
How would you protect yourself if one came after you?
I don't know. I would just yell at it.
The I don't know is what really scares me. You're smarter than that.
I don't worry about bears.
Well, you should. You're up there with them.
All right. Thanks for the advice.
All right.
Now,
You can see a guy who is a vaccine conspiracy theorist, vaccine questioner, whatever you want to say, who kills bears, or you can see a guy who's a champion for health. I see you putting your hands up. I'm going to let you answer. What is incumbent upon Robert F. Kennedy to not allow that narrative to take hold?
It is incumbent upon everybody to continue to pressure the press. I wonder if he doesn't sue the press for slander, because he's fully vaxxed, his family's fully vaxxed. He has no vaccine denialism. He wants vaccines subjected to the same scientific rigor as all the other medication that people like me are allowed by the FDA to bring to market. So we could use these things. As it is an entirely different operation with no liability to speak of. And there may be really significant problems with these vaccines. At least we should be able to ask the questions. I'm not a vax denier. Everybody's fully vaxxed in my practice. But when I give my patients informed consent, I have to include in that these things have not been tested the way I would be satisfied to really give them a clear understanding.
Even those putting up resistance to Trump's agenda don't seem to understand who they're dealing with.
Senator Elizabeth Warren accusing President-elect Donald Trump's transition team of breaking the law, as there are reports it missed a deadline to file a required ethics pledge.
Hear ye, Hitler missed the reporting deadline. The war is over. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Republicans are playing chess and the Democrats are in the nurse's office because they glued their balls to their thigh.
What about the other things he talked about in the campaign? Pardoning the January 6th protesters, firing the FBI director Christopher Wray?
He may. I would expect he will do all those things. I mean, I think people should understand. But Donald Trump came into this campaign, especially the conclusion, telling the American people exactly what he's going to do. And he wasn't like he was hiding it in the end. He actually was even bolder at the end. And the American people heard the choices, and they overwhelmingly picked Donald Trump, along with all the things that some people may not like, but that's what he wanted.
What about the other things he talked about?
I just wanted to know, where are you from?
Texas.
From America, right?
Yeah.
I just want to know, when was America great for us black people?
Right now?
Oh,
Say it's great right now?
Really?
Yeah. It ain't great for you?
No, not at all.
How?
I mean, I'm living life.
Look good. You got clothes on. Look well fed.
But that doesn't mean
Got
it's
nice,
great.
beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you.
Got your eyeliner on. You looking good. What kind of bag is that? That's a nice little bag there. You look good. America look good for you. If you were eating out of a trash can, I'll tell you something different. America's a great place. I don't understand how we are not acknowledging that. It's great. Look at all these different people out here. Men, women, black, white. You will never see this much diversity anywhere else. It's the greatest place on earth. Everybody can be here and enjoy one another, disagree with each other. We have the freedom of speech, freedom to keep and bear arms. We don't have to worry about the government interfering in our lives for the most part. It's the greatest country ever. And if we don't start acknowledging that, we're going to screw up something good.
I just wanted to know.
Trump was playing it in his plane. And then about 3 days later, in a big rally, and they played the Sinead song for the first time. So he's the kind of guy you can ring him up. I rang him up the morning after the election. And it rang and rang and rang. I thought he'd bound to be asleep. It was like 9 a.m. on the Wednesday. And then I heard, Piers, can you believe this? This is something else, huh? I said, I'm looking at a screen that says you've won the Senate, the House, everything. The White House. It's a clean sweep. And I just want to say to you, I know we've had a rocky time over the years, up and down. This is the greatest political comeback I've ever seen in my life. Trump was playing it in his plane. And then
they had fucking Joe Rogan on.
Yeah.
It really is an honor to welcome back to the broadcast team here in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the host of NBC's Fear Factor, Joe Rogan.
Keenan Ivory Wayans says to him, "You're into this Ultimate Fighting stuff, huh?" And Rogan starts going fucking off.
I'm a huge fan of Ultimate Fighting, all mixed martial arts. Literally, I don't care about other sports. Like the Lakers won their 3rd championship the other day. I couldn't care less. If they made basketball illegal, it wouldn't even bother me.
This is the fucking Fear Factor guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the way that Joe talked.
This is a very, very exciting fight for me. To me, this is like Christmas, my birthday, Happy New Year, April Fools, whatever. I can't wait for this fight. This fight is 1,000 times more important to me than Tyson and Lewis.
And how passionate he was, I go,
phenomenal fight. I can't even believe it's real. I can't even believe it's going to happen.
It's going to happen right here because the UFC is...
This is the fucking guy that I need. This is the fucking guy.
It's real.
You know how liberals have been complaining about the Electoral College and the popular vote for the last several years? Check this out. 17 deep blue states have previously signed on to the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, which gives their state's electoral college votes not to the winner of the electoral process, but to the winner of the popular vote. I am encouraging all of the states that signed on to this pact, including Tim Walz's Minnesota, to give their electoral college votes to Donald Trump. And if you don't, you hate democracy. If these states stuck to the compact agreement that they signed, Donald Trump would have won 520 electoral college votes to Kamala Harris's 18. I wonder if these states still think this is a good idea, or if they think, maybe the electoral college is still a pretty good system.
In an example of history repeating itself, nearly 160 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, Democrats are up in arms over the potential loss of their cheap labor. In an example of history repeating itself, nearly 160 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, Democrats are up in arms over the potential loss of their cheap labor.
Scientific America, the magazine. I remember when it was around when I was
grew up with it, yeah.
Grew up with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, their editor had to quit. You saw this.
Yeah, I heard about it because she expressed some opinions, right? Yeah.
Okay, sure, but it sure didn't sound scientific. It didn't sound like the person I would want to be running Scientific American.
Okay.
It is tough love time for the Democratic Party. I think it needs to be stripped down and rebuilt. I think that means a change in leadership. I want to know who thought it was a good idea that Joe Biden stand for another 4 years at...
Which side of a turkey has more feathers? The outside.